Elizabeth is an event planner who always works in the shadows. She organizes her first big Christmas event in a small town and crosses paths with William Darcy, a businessman her boss has eyes on. Elizabeth hands over color-coded binders to her boss, Caroline, for their planned events. She has kept a white binder for Lambton's annual Christmas festival next week. Caroline remembers that Lambton's mayor, George, is Elizabeth's friend from college. Elizabeth has pushed hard to plan this small-town event under the banner of elite events. Caroline hopes she doesn't have to worry about a romantic relationship with George. Elizabeth assures her he's just a friend, even if she wrote a letter to Santa to find true love. Elizabeth explains that she agreed to write one when her niece wasn't doing it. Caroline knows Elizabeth is great at making people do things they don't want to. This is the first time she is leading an event of this scale. Caroline is worried because she's usually a behind-the-scenes person. Elizabeth assures Caroline she has learned a lot from her over the last few years. Caroline is too busy with her events to worry about a small-town holiday party. She still asks Elizabeth to make sure everything goes smoothly. Since Caroline's company's name is associated with it, she threatens to fire Elizabeth if this doesn't work out. William Darcy asks his new assistant, Travis, to schedule a call with the department heads. He wants Travis not to get so nervous in his first week. Travis is honored to work with him, but William knows he'll change his mind when he works through Christmas. Travis assures him he will celebrate with his family via video conference. William doesn't want to make Travis work, but he needs to complete the sale of his late uncle's estate soon. Travis thinks the Pemberley Manor in Lambton, Connecticut is beautiful. When his dad was traveling, William remembers spending many Christmases there with his uncle and aunt. William informs Travis that, like every year, he plans to work on Christmas. Travis is scared about the helicopter. William's joke about it only being scary upside down doesn't help either. George's assistant, Jane, thinks he should try to convince William not to sell Pemberley Manor. She doesn't feel right about a beautiful place getting torn down to make condos. She knows Pemberley is also a huge part of Lambton's history. George reminds her it's been empty for years, and no one can change William's mind. He asks her to focus on his first Christmas festival as the mayor. He's glad he hired Elizabeth to plan it, who has already sent over her ambitious plans. Jane is worried about doing more events than they usually handle. George has campaigned to make big changes in Lambton. This elaborate Christmas festival is his way of showing his commitment. He's sure Elizabeth can handle this, and asks Jane to be her right hand during the preparations. Elizabeth is excited to meet George after so long. He introduces her to Jane, who keeps the town running for him. Elizabeth can already picture the Christmas tree and Santa's village at the spot. She doesn't want to take a break from something she's passionate about. Elizabeth explains that she met George at the campus bookstore, and they bonded over British authors. He even asked her out with a dinner invitation on a copy of Jane Eyre. She admits they went on one date, but decided to stay friends. Travis nervously asks William about his coffee preference. William jokes about his job depending on it, but Travis takes it seriously. He is walking on thin ice here. Travis cuts the line for coffee so he doesn't get fired. Elizabeth doesn't think his demanding boss should have so much right to control him. She knocks on William's car window and scolds him for threatening Travis. William explains that he was joking, but Elizabeth suggests he should help Travis adjust in his first week. Elizabeth claims to understand what it's like to have a demanding boss. She suggests he be kinder to his fellow men in the spirit of the holidays. William wonders if he can demand a coffee after the holidays, which proves her point. He still agrees to consider being nicer. When Travis gets back, William assures him he's not getting fired. Elizabeth doesn't let George tell her who the rude man is. She feels good about what she did and doesn't want to ruin it. Jane understands that George chose her for the event because she gets things done. William drives up to Pemberley Manor and meets the caretaker, Christopher. He explains that he took over from Mr. Willoughby after he retired. William doesn't understand why he's putting up Christmas decorations when they'll only stay at the house for a few days. Christopher wants the place to look cheerful till it's there. William remembers the place only from his childhood. His uncle left it to Darcy Corporation, whose board of directors has been deciding what to do with it. He doesn't think it makes sense to keep a house that has been empty for so many years. Christopher shows him around and hopes the staircase brings back some fond memories. William is determined to let the people in condos who live there next make all the memories. He's a hard nut to crack. Elizabeth remembers that George always wanted to get into politics. His law practice kept him busy till he decided to contest when the previous mayor retired. He wonders how her life is with all the fancy New York parties. Elizabeth assures him it's less glamorous for her when she's mostly handling logistics. He remembers the color-coded binders from college that she still uses. She knows life would be easier if even family, work, and love could be color-coded. She admits she was dating someone, but they broke up. She loves her job even if her boss can get very demanding. She still learns a lot from her and hopes to have her own company soon. George wanted to hire her directly, but Elizabeth knew having Caroline's name would be a good thing for him. They're sure they'll throw a fantastic event together. They wake up to find that their site for the festival has been ruined because of a water main break last night. The gazebo has also fallen inside the big hole in the town square. Jane has already compiled a list of other venues where they can hold the festival. Elizabeth refuses to believe they don't have better venues than the parking lot and a cow pasture. That looks like a moot point. Elizabeth remembers Pemberley Manor from her drive into town. Jane admits they used to have events there. She explains how it's being torn down soon. Elizabeth wants to convince the owners to let them have the festival there if it's standing till Christmas. George explains that it was Fred and Edith Darcy's house. They passed away a few years ago. Their nephew, William, is selling it. Elizabeth remembers his name from his company, Darcy Worldwide. Jane confirms that the company runs hotels, the airline, and many other things. Jane thinks George should tell Elizabeth who William is, but he wants to have more fun. When William answers the door, Elizabeth knows they have a problem. William invites them in, but Travis is afraid to ask her for coffee. Good call. William remembers the Christmas festival she mentions from his childhood. She explains that after losing their venue, they hope to host it at Pemberley's front lawn. Elizabeth knows it's getting torn down for condos and clearly disapproves. She asks him to look at how beautiful the place is. William doesn't see a point in keeping a house that has been empty for so long. Elizabeth suggests selling it to someone who will preserve it. She even thinks he can do something to benefit the community, like hosting the festival. William insists he doesn't want to jeopardize closing the deal before Christmas. Elizabeth still offers solutions since it's her first big event. She also wants George's first festival as the mayor to be great. William insists he has work and asks them to leave. Elizabeth points out that this refusal will make William fall into Santa's naughty list. Elizabeth is worried about ruining her first actual event. She hopes George can use his position as mayor to pressure William. She suggests suing him for lack of Christmas spirit. George asks her to let it go, but she wants to host the festival at a magical place. George suggests the magic of Christmas can be found anywhere. Elizabeth knows he's twisting her arguments to make his point like he did in college. Elizabeth asks about the company buying Pemberley and thinks she can find a way to do it. William hears Christopher playing Christmas music. He has found some old records and couldn't resist. William remembers his aunt playing these Christmas albums non-stop around the holidays. She taught him how to dance and was very patient with him. Christopher suggests getting into the Christmas spirit and helping the town. William insists that his hands are tied with the sale. Christopher hopes for a Christmas miracle, and Travis informs William about an email from Pemberley's buyers. They have received a complaint about their plans to tear down the manor and want to ensure some goodwill before the sale. Elizabeth turns up at his place to pitch how great it will be to host the festival there. William agrees to let her have the manor. He assumes she filed the complaint with the buyers. He agrees to let her do as she pleases, as long as she keeps his name out of anything she does. She decides to help him if he cooperates and warms up to him. A few days later, Elizabeth and Jane are ready to start planning. Elizabeth asks Jane to hand over everyone's assignments. William is impressed that she gathered so many people. Since getting permissions took time, he hopes she can set up everything. He offers help, but turns to leave for work. She takes him up on his offer and asks him to help her with supplies. She needs his car so they can carry all the decorations. When William is already holding more bags than they can carry, Elizabeth insists they need more lights. He can tell she loves Christmas, but she assumes he doesn't. He insists he loves Christmas in his way. His father always worked during Christmas, and he does too. Elizabeth has read an article about his late father, Philip. She knows William has been to Harvard and Columbia. He took over the company after his father passed and has been a workaholic since then. He wonders if she read something about his personal life. She asks if he dated two models, but he confirms it wasn't at the same time. He feels like he should know more about her too. She agrees to tell him if they get more supplies. George is impressed with Jane's preparations. When Travis comes looking for William, Jane nervously informs him they'll be back in 52 minutes. He loves how precise she is when he can't remember what shoes to wear for work. She offers to teach him how to get more organized. George notices a vibe between them and teases her about it. Elizabeth loves spending Christmas with family, so William hopes she's not missing out this year. Elizabeth explains that she'll drive to her parents' house right after the Christmas Eve festival. The local anchorman is doing the reading, but she thinks William can do it too. William doesn't like public speaking. Even in his profession, it's easier to talk when people are focusing on slides. When she learns he doesn't have a tree, she gets him one. Since she forced him to get it, she helps him decorate the tree. He compliments her when he lights it, so she asks him to be careful about his grumpy reputation. She calls him funny when he jokes about jumping in glee in front of business associates. William remembers the tree in the same hall when he was a kid. He spent the holidays with his aunt and uncle since his mother passed away when he was young. His father was always traveling on business, so he decorated the tree. He realizes he has shared too much and pretends he wants to return to work. Elizabeth also gets awkward when she realizes he wants her to leave. She rants to George about William throwing her out of the house. George remembers William mentioning all the fond memories of Pemberley when they met in law school. Elizabeth doesn't think he has any attachment because he refused to have his name at the Christmas festival. George explains that William does a lot of charity anonymously. He has sponsored the town's new library, the community center program, and even the festival they're working on. George knows he doesn't take credit because he likes to keep some things private. Christopher is wondering how much fun the children will have at the festival. He thinks Elizabeth is doing a great job. William also admits the grounds aren't big enough for her kind of Christmas cheer. When Christopher mentions the grounds behind the manor, William remembers his aunt and uncle's sleigh rides. They used to fix up a carriage with blankets and hot chocolate for him. William looks out of his window and finds Elizabeth is still hard at work. She wants to make sure everything is perfect for the tree lighting. She's trying to relax by running through her lists. She admits she would be baking cookies if she weren't working. William offers Pemberley's kitchen. They have all ingredients because Christopher has shopped for any Christmas emergency. He notices she has a lovely voice when she starts singing. Elizabeth loves singing, but is scared to do it in public. William shares that he always wanted to be the head of Darcy worldwide. He never fantasized about becoming a cop or an astronaut. His future and lack of choice were already made clear to him. He admits he would want to bake cookies if he had another choice. Elizabeth asks him to think of a backup career since his cookies don't look too convincing. She feels good they at least taste decent. Elizabeth checks with Jane if everyone has been informed about the change of venue. Elizabeth gets nervous when William walks in for a meeting with George. The men decide to get hot chocolate while the women plan the event. Elizabeth notices the look that Travis and Jane exchange. Jane denies she likes him but hopes Travis likes her. She still thinks they're very different because she's too organized. Elizabeth thinks opposites attract, so Jane wonders if something is happening with her and William. Elizabeth assures her they're way too different for that. Travis can't find the documents from the bank. Jane is trying to teach him how to be organized, but he doesn't get the hang of it. When George and William wonder if he likes her, Travis excuses himself to get their order. William assures George that Pemberley's sale will be wrapped up by Christmas Eve. George asks him to reconsider if he's attached to the place. Christopher also notices Elizabeth's voice. He hopes she gets the chance to perform. Elizabeth assures William that everything is on track for the tree lighting. She's nervous because her career depends on it. William brings her to the carriage to relax her nerves. He suggests offering a horse-drawn carriage at the festival, after fixing it up with some paint and decorations. Elizabeth doesn't want to remember her last carriage ride with her ex-fiancé Jeff. They were together for 2 years, and she doesn't remember anything dramatic that broke them up. She thinks they lost each other in the middle and couldn't find their way back. William remembers his relationship with a teacher, which ended similarly. Elizabeth admits she wants a great relationship again. She feels embarrassed when she tells him she wished for true love in her Santa's letter. He thinks that's sweet and hopes she finds it. Elizabeth is excited about the turnout at the tree lighting. She wants William to join them outside, but he insists on keeping a low profile. He thanks her for working so hard, but she believes she couldn't have done it without him. Jane calls Elizabeth outside. She also nervously asks Travis to watch the tree lighting with her. As George is about to light up the tree, Christopher hopes he didn't miss it. Christopher thinks William needs to be with the people he cares about to enjoy the Christmas spirit truly. George thanks all the volunteers and Jane for helping with the event. He especially congratulates Elizabeth for the great work. When they light the tree, Elizabeth notices that William has stepped out. He agrees that they make a good team and shakes hands with her. A photographer captures their photo. Caroline is giving instructions when she notices a picture of Elizabeth in the paper with William. Elizabeth feels bad for the photo and thinks she let William down by allowing people to invade his privacy. William assures her it's not her fault because he shouldn't have stepped out. She hopes he doesn't become one of those rich guys who never leave their house. Elizabeth admits she's happy he's getting credit for his work. She thinks the article about him saving Christmas was right. William doesn't want credit, but she insists people should know he's a good guy. Their Santa has the flu, so Elizabeth needs to find a replacement. They all look at Christopher, who refuses to believe he looks like Santa. He agrees to do it for the kids and already has a costume. They all choose Travis to be his elf helper. William wonders if George dated Elizabeth in college. George admits they went on one date, after which she just wanted to be friends. He agreed to do it because he wanted to have her in his life. He still wonders how she would respond if he asked her again. Elizabeth and William are shopping for the gifts the kids ask for. He loves how she always looks at the bright side. She doesn't think life can get better than buying gifts for children who don't have enough. When she asks about his Christmas wish, he admits he wants friends, family, and love, like she does. Elizabeth wonders if George would like a scarf they come across. She feels grateful that he took a huge chance on her. William asks her to get it, and jokes about Elizabeth only appreciating him for his car. Caroline turns up at Elizabeth's place. She is upset Elizabeth didn't tell her she's planning an event for William. Elizabeth explains that he's only lending the manor so they can host the festival. Caroline reminds her how huge Darcy Worldwide is. She's been trying to plan an event with his company for ages. Caroline thinks Elizabeth's picture in the paper with him makes her look irrelevant. She doesn't like that she's not even mentioned in the article. Caroline asks Elizabeth to order coffee so they can go over all the details of the event again. She wants to save her company's reputation by putting her stamp on the event. Elizabeth shows Caroline her setup, which she doesn't entirely hate. Caroline still refuses to let people sit on hay. She asks Elizabeth to arrange tables and chairs to make it look more elegant. Elizabeth finds William wrapping presents and wonders if he's angry at them. When he asks for her help, Elizabeth explains that her boss has arrived. Caroline is taking the lead on the event, and Elizabeth is supposed to introduce William to her. Elizabeth assures him she'll still work behind the scenes. William thinks she belongs out front and wants to tell Caroline that. Elizabeth asks him to focus on making the event wonderful for everyone. Caroline introduces herself to William and asks if they can chat about the festival. William returns from lunch with Caroline and asks Elizabeth to join him for a carriage ride. Caroline wants to take the ride with William, but he insists on going with Elizabeth. He wonders how Elizabeth is feeling about the changes Caroline is making. Elizabeth thinks Caroline knows what she's doing. William shares that Caroline was trying to convince him to be more involved with the festival. He made it clear he doesn't want more publicity. He asks Elizabeth to be proud of everything she has achieved. When their carriage arrives, Caroline asks Elizabeth to meet her after the ride. Elizabeth can't believe the concert is that night itself. They're also reading The Night Before Christmas, the following day on Christmas Eve. While she plans to spend Christmas with her family, William admits he might finally take the day off from work. Pemberley holds many powerful memories for him, and he wants a proper farewell. She wonders why he needs to sell it all. He explains that the board of directors, who have been handling such affairs for a long time, want this. He doesn't want to convince them otherwise. His father would never let childhood memories interfere with a business decision. She reminds him he's not his father, but he feels like he needs to be. She hopes a Christmas at Pemberley will change his mind. When they return, Caroline forces William to take another ride with her. Elizabeth is impressed with the turnout and credits Caroline for it. She thinks the people gathered because of an email Caroline sent through the social media team. Christopher still thinks her concert would have been better. Elizabeth insists she's fine in the background, but Christopher knows things can change. Caroline is worried because their soloist has a sore throat. Christopher suggests Elizabeth should sing for the finale. Caroline wants her to sing too, since it's too late to find a replacement. William wishes her luck before her performance. Elizabeth is worried about photographers finding him out there, but he isn't. As Elizabeth sings beautifully, George wonders if he should ask her for a second date. William encourages him to do it. Elizabeth tries to meet William after her performance, but Caroline drags him inside. George thanks Elizabeth for saving the night. Elizabeth comes looking for William, but finds Caroline instead. William praised Elizabeth a lot when Caroline discussed elite events working with his company. Caroline suggests Elizabeth step back so she can take over. She assures Elizabeth she's not firing her, and just needs her behind the scenes, where she belongs. Caroline even suggests Elizabeth fly back home early morning, while she handles the event alone. Christopher hopes William let Elizabeth know how much he values her. William admits she's special, but thinks she's better off with George. Christopher thinks Elizabeth should get to make that decision. He asks William to believe in the magic of Christmas. Elizabeth tries to look at the bright side of heading home early for a family Christmas. George wants to convince Caroline to let her stay, and thinks William can help. Elizabeth doesn't want to involve William more than she has. She apologizes to George for letting him down, and hopes they can still be friends. He realizes she doesn't want to be more than friends, and hugs her. William watches them hugging, and heads back home. William signs the final paperwork for Pemberley's sale and asks Travis to prepare for travel. He doesn't feel there's any reason to stay. Caroline is dismantling the setup on Christmas Eve morning because the buyers of Pemberley don't want any liabilities. Since the deal is closed, they don't care about the festival and goodwill. Caroline assures Elizabeth that even William can't help since he left. Elizabeth is hurt that William left without saying goodbye. George has seen a change in him recently and knows Elizabeth likes William as much as he does. He comforts her as a friend and thinks she should not give up. Jane calls Travis and asks him to lie to William about something. Travis pretends he got a call from Pemberley's buyers, who want to ensure the sale is complete. William knows only the contract ratification is pending from Darcy Worldwide's board of directors. It's a vote they need to take when he gets back, which means he still technically owns Pemberley. Travis pretends the pilot is delaying their takeoff because of bad weather. He suggests going back to the manor, but William wants to wait in the car. When Jane gets a go-ahead from Travis, they all start planning the festival again. Elizabeth explains to Caroline that she needs to put this festival together. She thinks this is bigger than them and wants to bring joy to the people on Christmas. Caroline somehow agrees to that and offers help. When William tries to talk to the pilot about the delay, Travis admits he lied. Travis wants William to remember that anything is possible at Christmas. Travis is also sure Elizabeth loves William and that he needs someone like her in his life. When William realizes she loves him, he agrees to head back to Pemberley. Christopher is missing from the festival, and even the anchorman's wife has gone into labor. Elizabeth asks George to hand the toys to the kids while she takes over the reading. George doesn't have a suit, and the reading is supposed to be done by a celebrity. Elizabeth knows it's not ideal, but thinks they can't do anything without a Christmas miracle. William is stuck in the snow and trying to get cell reception when Christopher comes to take him to Pemberley. Christopher wants William, and Elizabeth should figure out that they're perfect for each other. Christopher is going out of his way to ensure Elizabeth gets her Christmas wish. Christopher apologizes for arriving late with William and asks about the situation. William offers to do the reading this time because he wants to be more involved. He also shares with Elizabeth that he still owns Pemberley and has spoken to the board about canceling the sale. When William starts reading the night before Christmas, Travis finds his way back and hugs Jane. Elizabeth thanks Christopher for his help, who hopes she gets everything she wants. When William is done with the reading, Christopher takes over the presents. William admits he tried to overcome his public speaking fear to get on Santa's nice list. He kisses Elizabeth, and it all seems magical.